Mm-mm. Oh, there we go. Yo. Had some issues getting on live there. Apologies. Oh man, it's not that time. Excuse me. It's about that time. But in the meantime, you know what it is. Come on, as always, man. Come on. You see it? Made in the 1980s. Made in the 1980s, man. A brand new podcast. I say brand new because we're under 50 episodes, under 100 episodes. So still new to a lot of y'all out there. Salute to everybody that's been supporting so far. I appreciate it. And man, took a nap today. And since I have another album that I've listened to at least 4 times, 4.5, because I'm still on technically what would have been like the 5th listen. So I'm on my 4th full listen. I want to talk about it, man. Buy merch, support the show. Shout out to everybody that's been a part of the show in some way, shape, or form, man. I sincerely appreciate it. We're gonna get to it here. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at all my notes, making sure that I'm still live. I literally had some issues getting on live. This is the first time that StreamYard has actually like told me like no or gave me an error. So just making sure I'm good, even though we're in the first 2 minutes. You know, I don't want to get on here to be kicked off. I got a good amount to say. We won't beat y'all over the head with it. Too hard, pause if necessary, or that's what she said, if that's what you're into. But you know, there is a lot of music. Again, I do this for a couple different reasons. As a matter of fact, let me get into one of the reasons because I think it's very timely. Punch was responding to some of the criticism and the backlash of just like basically like just music journalism, especially like hip hop journalism or whatever, being trash, being garbage or whatever. And I know he wasn't talking about like every last person ever, but of course, you know, we live in this world where people can say something, you can disagree, and then you can come out and cry or send death threats, or you can just do anything. You can and people just want to feel slighted. People want to feel insecure. People want to, you know, feel disrespected. And man, as a person that I know, Punch has no idea who I am and could care less. I'm just gonna work harder. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna work harder. And the first step is working on real music reviews, real conversation about the music that I really mess with. Um, you know, I think there is a certain magic that happens when even, you know, even if you're a journalist, if you're an actual fan of music, it would help for you to speak about the music. I said this all the time on a previous podcast that I curated. Support what you love instead of bashing what you hate. Support what you love instead of bashing what you hate. I think that's so important. And the minute we stop doing everything for clout, we stop trying to play the algorithm game, when we stop trying to play the the SEO tag, you know, this is the name and this is the phrase that gets the most clicks, that gets the most exposure. As soon as we get away from that and start doing stuff we love and start talking about things that we love, especially in the music space, I think that's going to influence greater journalism. I really do believe that. You know, everybody can stand flat footed and give their 10-second opinion, you know, and unfortunately, there are a lot of artists that are paying to say Well, paying artists are paying outlets to say this, that, or the third, or they want to get all the questions and they want to chop, screw, edit, flip, and bounce. And what I'm trying to do with my music reviews, I being Camp from the Port, I'm just trying to give y'all a little something that's authentic still, give you some real music opinion, real people that's really listening. I do this for the real music lovers, man. I do this for the real music and artist supporters. Nothing more, nothing less. So since that is what I'm on, let's get into it. Right? Dom Kennedy, man, very glad to see on my title account that I think it's like a week ago now. Showed Dom Kennedy, Class of 95, the album dropped. I have been subtly talking about Dom Kennedy for one reason or another all year this year. Was super happy to see him at the Kendrick show, the Pop Out show. That was great to see Dom Kennedy. I don't know how people view the last decade of music, hip hop, especially on the West Coast, but I personally don't think that you can talk about the West Coast rap scene, the other side of the independent rap scene without speaking about Dom Kennedy. That is my personal assessment. That is my personal feeling, but I don't think I'm wrong in that aspect. Obviously, last decade, 2010 to 2019, obviously I guess you could say the spoils or the light, it all goes to TDE, right? Because it's four MCs on one team, well, at least front facing. And I'm not disrespecting, like, your Isaiah Rashad, your Reason, and the other brothers on the label, but I'm talking about when Kendrick, J Rock, Schoolboy Q, Absol, they're leading the charge. Like when you think of West Coast hip hop and all aspects of last decade, a lot of people will immediately go there. But now, unfortunately, too, with his untimely demise, Nipsey Hussle is thrown firmly into that conversation, which he should have been anyway. If Nipsey Hussle was still alive today, he should still be in this conversation. So I don't want to ever get it confused. Like he shouldn't be, because what he was doing from his freshman list until his unfortunate passing was unprecedented as far as just artists and artists being independent and knowing how to do it. But another guy that was in that mix and should always be considered in that mix. And so why I'm so happy that he did take that stage at the what is it? Crypto Arena now. It's no longer Staples Center. It was Dom Kennedy. Dom Kennedy, I got there with Problem, who is now known as Jason Martin, his full name. G Malone, Glasses Malone. I look at all of those guys are as the new independent wave. And as we talk about the independent wave in hip hop, you can't talk about it without talking about Currency, without talking about Freddie Gibbs to a certain degree. Excuse me. Obviously, Strange Music, everything under the umbrella that is Tech Nine. That goes without saying, but that's all the way back to the 90s. So I'm just sticking to the people that made independent look very cool, look very wealthy, and look like just the overall better option. And I gotta say, man, Dom Kennedy for me is at the top of that list. What he was doing with OPM and his mixtape run, it was inspiring. It's inspiring to this day as I listen to this album. We're gonna get into it. But for everybody that may be unaware, I want to give a little history about how long I've been listening to Dom and why I started listening to Dom. Before I get into that, though, I do want to say for everybody that may have missed the Dom wave, and I've had this conversation even with a West Coast homie, and we both were in agreement. I believe that the Larry June run is what I expected from Dom Kennedy. For me personally, Dom Kennedy started the leg of this race of this lane, and now and some at some point the baton was taken from Larry June and he's running. This is two sides of the same state. I think Larry June is NorCal and Dom is Leimert Park. That's LA, I think, like South Central, I think, still. Excuse my geography. I've only been to LA like a couple times. So apologies, sincere apology if that is all wrong. But by no NorCal, SoCal, both of these gentlemen, I don't know if they know each other. I don't know if I don't know if Larry June is actually inspired by Dom Kennedy. I have no idea. But when I hear Larry June projects and when I see the moves that he's making, I immediately think of Dom Kennedy and like, wow, man, like I expected Dom to be here doing that. And on one hand, that may sound like a slight, but I only mean it one affectionately, positively, and only because I thought that Dom would never stop. Like a lot of product got dropped from like what 2009, 2010 to 2015, 16. A lot of product came out. So I was kind of like just lost when all of a sudden no Dom albums. And then I know a lot of life things happened. I think he had a child and was focusing on that. And I think he lost family members. And then obviously he loses one of his good friends in the industry and obviously in life and Nip. So I do understand the process and the thought process of what music can wait and we'll figure this out at a different time. But and it, I've always thought of that, and it's never a comparison. I don't necessarily think Larry is better than Dom or Dom is better than Larry. I just think they're part of the same wave, part of the same vibe. I personally believe that Dom Kennedy is one of the pillars or forefathers, if you will, on music being the vibe. He's one of the artists where I don't think lyrical prowess was such a major thing. Like, and I'm not saying I don't think he can rap at all, but I've never really sincerely tuned in for to a Dom Kennedy album specifically for like the bars, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean that the project isn't dope, and we're going to talk about that. So here, let's do this. How did I first hear of Dom Kennedy? That was because of Snoop Dogg. Wildly enough, because of Snoop Dogg. When they were doing the GGN, I think it was, and was doing the talk show TV show. And if he's still doing it, I just haven't checked out an episode in a while. But Dom Kennedy was like a musical guest on there, and he did Grinding. And Grinding was just infectious, bro. Like just the way it come on. Grinding. See ya, good shining. Early in the morning, check the rollie with the diamonds. Grinding, 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 grinding. Like that to me, I was just like, yo, I just like how this feels. He's not really saying anything outstandingly prolific, but like I dig what he's doing. And there is also just a believability to the lyrics, to the song, to the sounds. And instantly downloaded that joint, put it on one of my mixtapes, like one of my mixtapes. Like, I was making mix CDs still last decade until they stopped taking burners off of computers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got like one of the last MacBooks that had like a CD burner on it. So I was going crazy. But from there though, it made me hop on Dat Piff. RIP Dat Piff. And because I was like, I like to hear good music or hear artists that I think is dope. And I like to go looking for whatever they got out or whatever is the latest or the best project that's supposedly from them. And sometimes going too far back, you get lost in like, okay, this is when you were growing versus, okay, this is when you got it. So I didn't really start off with listening to Dom's old work first, but I went looking for the project with Grinding on it. And but in the process of that, I was just like, yo, let me just hear something because I don't believe From West Side with Love had dropped yet. So I went right to Best After Bobby. And when I tell you the intro on Best After Bobby got played like 20 times in a row just because I like the way he was, I like the pocket that he was in and the way he was riding the beat on this on the intro. I was like, yo, dude is dope. I gotta keep listening to this cat. And from there, fandom seed planted. And then I also listened to the original Dom Kennedy, which was another mixtape. And between Best After Bobby and the original Dom Kennedy, I'm like, okay, man, no, this dude is hot. Like this is fire. I can't really put my name, my finger on what I like about it, but now I can, and we'll save that because we're going to talk class of 95 here shortly. And then from there, Best After Bobby, the original Dom Kennedy. So then I started listening to From West Side with Love and Get Home Safely. And those albums, again, solid, very dope. Get Home Safely is probably now my second or third favorite project from Dom. But hands down, still to this day, I think the 10-year anniversary has already passed. But the album for me from Dom Kennedy is unquestionably the Yellow album. The Yellow album, for those that may be unaware, is the joint that's got My Type of Party on it, right? And please get yourself familiar with that album. Matter of fact, I'm thinking if there is a vinyl of it, I think I want to buy that just because it represents a moment in time for me. And yeah, super dope. So with that backstory, let's get into Class of 95. Class of 95 to me is Dom Kennedy establishing himself as the guy that started a lot of this vibe-ish, that started a lot of the new age game spitting, the new hustling, getting money, hitting chicks, and just being fly. I feel like this album is just it's maybe the reminder or the reintroduction, depending on who you are and when you first heard of Dom Kennedy. Again, when we talk about lanes and we talk about who fits where, I got a Dom Kennedy in there with like a Currency, with a Larry June, and those three guys. Oh, hey, look, even now, especially now he's back independent, Wiz Khalifa. Matter of fact, I think you can hear a lot of Currency, Wiz Khalifa, and Larry June in this Dom project. And I think all these gentlemen, your cool stoners or just your cool laid back dudes that pick the beautiful beats and just say whatever on them, but they be kicking some real stuff. And that in itself makes it just palatable. It makes it listenable. And there's some humor in it. There's some, ooh, okay. I see where you're going, or okay, that's actually a bar. I feel what you're doing with that. I think that Dom Kennedy is a pillar in that lane of rap music, of that lane of hip hop, man. And I think Class of 95 is unquestionably a confirmation of that. It's a confirmation of that. And I think that with 19 tracks, and I want to say over an hour's worth of content, whether you know who Dom is for sure or not, I think you'll be thoroughly pleased. I think you'll be, I don't want to say impressed because I don't know why and how people listen to music nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But this is a little bit over an hour long, like it's almost like an hour and 3 minutes, but it flows really well from track 1 to track 19. And um I do think that he's a master at picking beats that make sense for his sound and his voice, which I think is a very underrated um attribute that a lot of artists should have. It's cool to show range and be versatile if you can, but you know, there is still something about just having your pocket, knowing what that pocket is, knowing where you get the best of you and your flow and your cadence and your lyrics. Like Dom really knows who he is, and Class of 95 is totally a just a reminder or a confirmation of that. And I thoroughly enjoy listening to it. Off top, I can tell y'all, even though it's early in the album, one of my two of my favorite joints is Legendary and Slauson Phil. They early in the album, but Legendary and Slauson Phil are two of my joints. My man Dom said, I can tell by how you talk that you ain't been through shit. I can tell by how you talk you ain't got one bitch. And yo, you need people in the game telling people that, like, yo, you ain't really been through nothing. You ain't really on these chicks like that. Like, you need to step to the side. You corny, you lame. Like, let the real dudes rock. Let the cool dudes rock. And it is, hey man, it's just great to know that's not lost. That we can still get some of that and what we're doing here, man. You know, Promise is a dope joint that comes later in the album. I want to say that, yeah, the title track, Class of 95. Class of 95 is dope. Also, I told y'all Legendary, I told y'all Lost and Feel. So Loved was hard on there. Sketches from Westlake, that closed out the album. Leaning. I'll say out of 19 tracks that are actually tracks, like, because this is actually an actual album. My bad. See, I'm about to play it for y'all. I can't wait. 19 tracks. I would say I'm easily at like 9, 10 that I'm about to add to my tracks, and that's been off of just 2 listens. Again, you know, I think the rap game, I think music listeners, music lovers in general, we need a change of pace. And I think this album is one of the albums that are a great change of pace. I think as we start to see the demise of so many artists, for one reason or another, we're losing a lot of artists, young artists, from to drugs, death, and jail time, man. And I think it's so important that, especially in the rap sector of music, that we get some people just kicking a different message, one, a more positive message, two, or just on a different type of vibe, just on a different wavelength. Like, I like this Dom Class of 95 album because it's not so negative. He's not talking about doing a bunch of pills or sipping a bunch of lean or fighting demons, or he's not on here talking about ops and getting the switches and gunning people down, and it's none of that. He talking about falling in love, down chicks, just being player. You know what I'm saying? What happened to being player? You might find out that it's very cool to be player by listening to this Class of 95 album. It's that there's even lines on here. I want to say if it's not Promise, it's the joint before it, which is Loved, matter of fact, or Independent. It also could be Independent, where he's literally talking about how, he never gang banged, but they still love him though. Like the streets, the hood, they still love him the same. Like, yo, he's choosing a different route. We're gonna let him rock out. And I think more messages, even if they're subtle, even if they're just one or two bars, even if it's just one or two bars, or maybe a hook here or half a verse there, I think it's important to just push out different messages for people to digest. Because, man, black music, well, it's all black music, but hip hop and R&B right now is seemingly in shambles for one reason or another. I pray we get back to the art. I pray we get back to the individuality. I pray that we get back to having fun. Music hasn't been fun in a minute. There's a handful of people that they hear and they now coming out, but man, like, can we just have that diversity back into the music now? Because labels are playing analytic games, and because the front facing money making seemingly is done by just all the toxicity and the chaotic and and the stunt worthy. But man, I would encourage people, especially aspiring artists, I would encourage you all to just look beyond that tier of what's being promoted to you, what's being marketed to you. Because there's still some gems out there. Um, Not every hip hop year can be stellar, can be great with tons of 5 mic albums and classics and classic songs. It can't be that every year, but I do maintain my stance that every year since hip hop music has been released, there are at least 5 to 10 projects that I feel that you should hear, need to hear, or definitely made it to where the year went so bad. We can't get caught up in the volume of how many people are dropping. It's just that you had 12 months from January to December. And in that January to December, even if you found 5 albums, 3 to 5 albums, that means that you could have gone 365 days, 52 weeks out of the year, and sat with an album that you felt was dope for at least 9 to 10 weeks. That's how I feel about it. So listen to that Dom Class of 95. If you like to chill, if you like to smoke, you like to chill and smoke, you like to just ride around, you want to ride around with like cool chicks while they get high. You want to like have sessions where you just sit like maybe with some cool lights or like black lights, fluorescent lights, and you just want a nice chill vibe that you ain't gotta get up and dance, but you definitely don't have to be down in the dumps and be depressed. I highly recommend this Dom Kennedy Class of 95 album. It's dope. I love dope product. If we're asking for my rating out of 5, let's give this one a 3 as well. 3 is dope. That means, hey, over 66% of the album. I mean, to get a 4 or 5, I ain't gonna lie, man, I gotta be just thoroughly impressed on all fronts. Beats, rhymes, artwork, messaging. Like, we're gonna make the artist work for these 4s and 5s, but I think 3 is respectable. 3 out of 5 is super respectable. 3.5 out of 5. I only giving out one 3.5, and that was to LL Cool J, because I was just impressed about where he is and his tenure as an artist and as a superstar, and how he's still able to connect the way he does. Dom, I'm just happy to see him back. I'm just happy Dom is back and giving us something else to listen to. There's power in that. There's power in just giving people something else to listen to. So for everybody, if you've been turning on your radio or you've been getting on YouTube and you think everybody trash, you think everybody garbage, you think I'm tired of hearing this sound or this cadence, I'm sick of hearing this flow, I'm sick of hearing from these people and pushing this message. Again, I recommend that you give Class of 95 by Dom Kennedy a listen. It is a 180 from everything out right now that you may be aware of. It is totally, if the fork in the road, everybody is going right, he's definitely going left. And I think for us core Dom listeners, I think we'll be thoroughly pleased. I was thoroughly pleased by this. Um, I haven't, and I'll be honest, I slept. I didn't check out From West Side with Love 3 because unfortunately one of the other albums that I know he had put out, I wasn't really digging it. So I just kind of like lamed out. I didn't think to check on it, but I definitely will now that we got this. That is, I think, the best part about all of this. Dom is back, Dom is creating, and you got something different for your ears. And salute to all the independent artists out there. Salute to the guys, to men and women. I don't want to just leave it to just women, but I mean men. But shout out to everybody that's built their audience with just their brand, their likeness. Not too many gimmicks, not too many foolish antics and what have you, but you just solely built it off of creating your art, packaging your art, and putting it out in a way that it just resonated with people. I think that is important. I'm sorry here. What up? What up? What up? Kaleidoscope. Speaking of independent artists, how's the cut independent? Hold on here. Let me make sure I'm on the same page here with you. Oh, yo, one of my it's like I was speaking of earlier. It's actually in my top like 10 of tracks I sincerely mess with on this project. It's one of the ones I've added to my my tracks. You got to add to your tracks or your collection now. But I'm the Class of 95 product, I think, spot for spot. Again, I can't deep dive into the lyrics on a project like this because Dom's not that kind of rapper. Even as he's telling the stories, there's a lot of just like other details or matter of factness. I love the eclectic way in which he rhymes, where one moment he could be talking about how he growing up, but then he'll turn it back into how like he about to pick up this chick and she about to blow his brains out, if you know what I'm saying. And then from there, he just might be like, yo, get up and get some money, be hustling. Don't be out here musty and crusty and dusty or something like that. It's just literally, it's almost like as people were saying, like organized freestyles. And he has the ability to still tell stories. I think even in a way he's telling his own stories, but they're kind of like the blending of fantasy, reality, and reflection, like at the same time, which I think Currency is really dope at doing that too. And I think Larry June is really dope at doing that as well. Wiz comes in a different space because, Wiz is super rich. So like his fantasy is reality and reflection, you know what I mean? But I think this kind of rap, this style of rap, I don't know what to call it, but to me, this is the real vibe rap. This everything else that's just laced with just and laden with just drug, drink, and just all of that. I don't consider that vibey rap. I just think that's internally destructive. Respectfully, I think this is the vibes right here. These are when people tell me, oh no, it's just the vibe, just listen to it. Dom Kennedy's albums and projects and mixtapes are the ones that I think of when I hear things like that. Currency is when I think of that. Larry June is when I think of that. So the vibe is back. West Coast vibes are back. And you should definitely take a listen to it. All right. And let me know what you think. Hey, when you listen to this, if this is your first time listening to Dom or you're just happy that he's back, man, leave a comment. Let me know. Because was pleasantly surprised to get um this project and for it to sound as clean as it did. So I'm happy we got it. Sounds like you're describing the West Coast Nori. Hey, not for nothing, without so much of a violent drug dealing edge. I'm I'm not mad at that. Not mad at that because there is we gotta figure out a name for this type of rhyming because what I don't even know how people get to it. It's like where you're almost rhyming about nothing, but you're not because you obviously like kicking something. Like you kicking something, but it's not your standard structure. Like it's not Nas or Rakim, but it also ain't quite cannabis either. You know, even people don't give Eminem enough credit for staying on topic, but he stays greatly on topic. And it's not punchline heavy, but it's a lot of game spitting on it. That's definitely how I feel about Class of 95. This is not the album to be, you know, lyrically, what I'm saying, astounded. I don't think he's gonna kill you with the bars. I think you're gonna love the beats. I think you're gonna love some of the hooks. And then every once in a while, as you just sitting and you zoning out, you're gonna hear some slick stuff he said. And I think that's good. I think that's good. To a degree, I wish I could rhyme like that. My brain just doesn't allow me to rhyme that way. But if it did, I'd put out 30 mixtapes. Action Bronson, another person in this lane for me. Even though like he's like on some like Stan Lee type stuff, the way he writes. I admire the guys and women, if there are any, that can rhyme like this, that just kind of rhyme like in sporadic patterns that tell stories but give you just many pictures, eclectic pictures. I think that's super dope. So man, I think that's all I got. I think that's all I got for the Class of 95 Dom Kennedy album, the new joint. Been out for like about a week and had to talk about it. I wasn't sure if anybody else would. If I see an artist I truly respect or support, we're gonna drop what we're doing and we're gonna listen and we'll be back. So potential spoiler alert, the Tyler album might be next. Man, thank you so much for listening. Whenever you decide to listen, please, please, please go listen, go cop, go get that Dom Kennedy Class of 95 album. Give it a listen. And let me know your thoughts, man. I'd greatly appreciate it. Until next time, know that it's always and consensually it's love.